have a mustache.
Yeah, I'm not spending $50 on that. No way. All right, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, find your seats, get out your homework. Hats off, hoodies off, jackets off.
Abby, Abby, that's hoodies off, jackets off.
Besides Bree, and Nick, who's not here.
Bree.
Bree, Nick, Parker. I'm listening.
I'm not gonna name who they're my friends, but this group is on my board. Oh, it was me. Well, you literally just said you weren't gonna say who, and then Bo was like, it was me. No, Ace said that.
I believe Ace.
Look, I got glasses. That seems like an Ace thing to do.
Hi, Mr. Chartier.
It seems like an amazing.
Yes, what's up?
Hi.
Parker's here now.
Hello. Parker is here now.
Parker's here.
Parker, you wanted to buy exotic.
Oh no, we are going to buy exotic Pringles. We're gonna buy those seaweed ones.
I have a question. Do you think we should buy Pringle recognition from Pringle?
That's $50. Look at me.
Sure. Any class? All classes?
Yeah. Especially so.
Okay. Will do. All right, here we go. Quiet, please. Okay, when I ask for quiet and I don't get quiet, thank you. Yes. All right, let's look at 19 and 21. 19 and 21. All right, number 19. There's about 4 sentences there, and basically it's just asking you to calculate the circumference. It literally says, what is the circumference? It gives you the radius. It's large numbers. It's a real-world problem. It's the Earth. It's asking you to calculate the circumference of the Earth. It says the radius is 6,378, so we just plug it into the radius formula for circumference, and we're done. Say again?
So you double that.
You double that, multiply it by pi, and you're done. Correct. Yes.
22.
Say again?
22.
22. Now, this required you, and I had like 3 people come up to me and ask me questions, and I said, draw the picture, and then they walk away saying, oh. So whenever it describes things, one of the primary things we always do is draw a picture. It says you have a circular track, so I need to draw a poorly drawn circle. Okay? It says, or circular field, sorry. It says around the field, right, there is a running track. So there's a running, it looks like a donut now, right? There's a running track. Further, it says the distance from the center to the inside edge, I want to say it was 45, something or other. Okay? And then it says the distance from the inside to the outer one was it 55? 55. Then the last part it simply says is, what's the circumference of the inner? What's the circumference of the outer? Well, they give us the radius for both of them. It's just plug the numbers in. Okay? But you get that from drawing the picture more so than reading, right? If you don't have a visual picture of it, sometimes it's hard to interpret what to do. All right, let's grade this. All right, number 1, this is just plug numbers in. In fact, we have a name for this in math. It's called plug and chug, where you're given a formula, and then they basically give you numbers that all you do, this low-level thinking, all you do is plug the numbers in and you chug through the calculation. Now, granted, you can make a math mistake, but I'm saying thinking-wise, the word problem here with the track was a much harder problem than questions 1 through 6, where literally just plug numbers in, chug through the calculation, which is why these are questions number 1 through 6. So the answer to number 1, remember, you always got to put units, 25.1 centimeters. Number 2, 62.8 kilometers. Number 3, 2,830 millimeters.
Are you rounding?
The book appears to be rounding correctly. All right. Number 4, 100 centimeters. Number 5, 134 meters. And number 6, 1,750 millimeters. Now, it doesn't say in the instructions what to round it to, so I'll leave that to you guys and what you round it to. You didn't round it all, so you got yours went to 2 decimal places, correct? Yeah. Okay. Number 19, it turns out the Earth is 40,000, and the circumference of the Earth is 40,074 kilometers. So the equator all the way around the Earth, or if you want to think of, you guys learned about longitude and latitude?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, which ones go through the North or South Pole, longitude or latitudes? Longitudes go through the North and South Pole. So all longitude, right, they're called lines of longitude. All lines of longitude are, now remember the Earth is a squished, or we say an oblated sphere, squish sphere. They're all about 40,074 kilometers. 21. I skipped 20? I did. And then what did I give you next?
21.
21, that's what I thought. 21 is 47.1 kilometers. And then the last one, the inner ring, or the inner side of the track would be 283 meters. They're rounding, obviously. And the outer would be 345 meters. Okay? All right. Another appeal to the Keegans and the rest of them out there that aren't doing their homework. Hey, the quarter just began, right? Start off with a good, solid work ethic of I do my homework all the time. If your strategy is I'll just wait for student advisement to do it on the day that it's due, it's a poor strategy. Get your homework done on time. That way, when you come into class, all the kids that have the questions can ask the questions. The rest of us are moving on to new stuff, and you haven't even figured out you do the old stuff. Elizabeth?
I have a question on 19 because you said it was 40,074.
40074.
I got 76.
Well, they're rounding, obviously. So, yeah, you're good. The other thing, too, if you notice, they said they wanted you to use, I can't remember what number off the top of my head, but instead of using 3.14, they said use 3.1416, I think, for 5.
Yeah. Wait, what do they round to?
22, they round to a whole number. I mean, if you didn't round to a whole number, it doesn't say to do that, so it's fine if you got a decimal number. It's fine. As long as you got a number that would round to my number, then we're good to go. All right. A couple of you still have your jackets and hoodies on. Please take them off. It was. Now it's warm because you're inside. Hey, I'm going to warn you. Today we're going to not start, but at the finish, we're going to do something very challenging. Very challenging.
I know what that challenging is.
What is that?
Write the name of work.
Composite shapes.
What? Oh, I've heard of that. We're also going to have a fire drill test.
Not during this period, no.
Yours is asleep.
Homework.
All right, Pierce is not asleep.
Homework.
Yours just put his head down and
Homework.
No, he doesn't.
No.
Yes, he does.
Jameson does, but not Pierce.
Hey guys.
All right, look at the board, please, on the calendar. Friday, then we're going to come back. We're going to finish this chapter tomorrow. Come back, do a review, and take chapter test on Tuesday. There is your homework. Please copy it down. It can certainly happen, right? I don't have extra days where I say there's no test ever on a Monday, anything like that. They happen when they happen. The only time I will change that is like we have a long weekend. Like, for instance, the parent-teacher conference, we also have, well, you guys, not us. You guys have that Monday off as well, too. So that's 5 days. So we will absolutely 100% do a review when we come back after 5 days of no school.
Yes, whole week.
That's a whole week, right? Whole week days. Yeah, whole school week. Thank you.
We
Imagine
come
if
back
we
on
actually got a
Monday.
week off the parent-teacher conference.
All right, we have the homework copy down, yes?
Oh, what the hell is
Right,
in there?
faster. I'm going to warn you again. The last thing that we're going to do
It's hard.
is hard. Okay? It requires you to be able to think through a problem, to visually identify shapes, and to think through a problem. I know some of you will struggle with it. Some of you will be fine. It won't even be like, why are they making a big deal about it? But a lot of you might struggle with the composite shapes. Composite shapes are more like real world stuff. Rarely do you have just a circle. Gavin, you're disturbing us. What are you doing?
It's trying to make up.
I'm trying to unbutton the thing because I thought it was unbuttoned. But it isn't.
I thought you were trying to suffocate yourself.
He was doing a ritual.
All right, you ready now? Here we go. All right, so this is the second part. You're going to understand why I didn't give you all this in one class when you see how challenging the last thing. Put the cups away, Kaden.
Are you going to make us cry?
No, not yet. Last class, we dealt with circles, and we dealt with the formula for calculating the perimeter. If we didn't call it perimeter, we called it the circumference. So quick review of what we did last class. Quick review. So I defined a circle as you start with a point, you measure a specific distance away from that point to the left, to the right, top, bottom. All right, you continue this an infinite amount of times, and eventually a shape emerges, and that shape is a circle. And I made a large point to describe that the circle is just this black curve. It's not the center, it's not the middle part, it's just the black curve. We talk about the whole thing to include the middle. That's called a DISC, a disc, right? We're not going to talk about disc yet. We'll wait for chapter 10. But for right now, we're just talking about the black portion right there. That is called a circle. So the definition, you don't need to write this down again, was the set. The set is a fancy word for the collection. The collection of all the points that are the same distance away from a given point, that red point right there. 10 centimeters. If you draw all of those and you put them on a flat surface, you get a circle. And just to tell you about 3 dimensions, if we did all the points that are the same distance, you would get a sphere. Further, we said how to name circles. We name circles by their center. We can either put the word circle or we can put the symbol for circle. The symbol for circle is the astronomical symbol for the sun as well. So it's a circle with a dot in the center. Okay. Then we started talking about the things that you can have on a circle. If we connect 2 points that are on a circle, we make a, from yesterday's class, we make a,
Line.
no one can remember from yesterday. We make a chord. A chord is when you have 2 points on the circle and you play connect the dots. That's what makes a chord. So a chord is not a line. It turns out a line that goes through a circle gets an entirely different name. Anybody know? Smarty pants, anybody?
What was it called?
It's not on anyone's paper. It's not a line. That means it wouldn't stop, right? You know?
Radio.
No. No, it was not. I'm just seeing if anyone knew. Right? You will learn that in high school, okay? It does start with the letter S. All right. So the ones that we're dealing with in 7th grade are chords, right? On this particular circle, and I also pointed out yesterday that unlike the little dot right there for the center X, when they draw circles, they're efficient, they would say, but they're lazy in my opinion. They don't put the points on the circle. They just have a segment and it stops and there's no dot there. Trust me, there really is a dot there. They choose not to place it there. So if I talk about the chords on this circle, how many chords are on this circle on the board?
2.
There's 2. Which ones?
A, C, and G, F.
Okay, and remember you can call AC, CA, or AC, and you can call FG, FG, or GF. Now they are segments, so they get the segment symbol over the top of them, even though we're going to call them chords. Now, there is one special chord, and that's the chord that goes through the center. The chord that goes to the center is called a
Diameter.
Now, just so you know, it is a chord. It's just a special chord. It's the only special chord, and we call it a diameter.
What about the line thing? Like the line that goes through a circle? Would that be
It's called a secant, but you're not going to learn about it until high school. All right. Sometimes I'll get a kid that knows, hey, that's a secant. All right. Diameter. It's a chord that goes to the center. So what's the name of this chord? This diameter?
LK.
LK or KL. On circle M, the diameter is LK or KL. And the last thing we talked about, I need you to. Did I want you to write this down? No, I did not want you to write this down. The last one I talk about is the radii, and that is not a chord. Radii are not. Radii is plural. Radius. Hey, Jaden, in your seat, right? Paying attention. The last one we talk about is a radii. Radius singular, radii plural, and that goes from the center. It's a segment from the center to any point along the outside. Just so you know, it doesn't matter where the point is. All radii have the same measurement for a given circle. Doesn't matter where I put the point, you get the same measurement. Chords can change. Now, a diameter is the same thing. Diameters only have one measurement. Diameters and radii only have one measurement, but chords in general have lots of different measurements for any circle. Okay?
But this one is just half.
And the other point we want to make is that a radius is half of a diameter, or a diameter is double a radius. You can think of it either way. So, what are the radii on this particular circle?
GE.
And remember, we name our radii from the center out, not from the out to the center, from the center out. And that way we can tell which point is the center. So GE, GD, and GB are the radii of that particular circle. So that's what we did yesterday. We did one last thing, which was calculate the circumference, right? The circumference is the distance around a circle, the distance around a circle. Now, not this class, but the other class kind of got lost in the weeds because I showed you where this formula comes from. I showed you where pi comes from, and they focused more on that than on the formula. So I was, as a for you to explain where it comes from, I was giving you an explanation. But what we really are trying to focus on is just the formulas for circumference. So there's two formulas for circumference when you really only need one. And I understand that, in 7th grade that can be slightly confusing. The reason why we have two formulas is because a diameter is 2 radii. So depending upon whether you have a diameter or a radius, you can change between the two very easily. They give you a diameter, you want a radius, divided by 2. They give you a radius, then you double it, you get a diameter, which is why your book shows 2 different formulas. Okay? So if you have a diameter, you take pi and you multiply it times the diameter. If they give you a radius, remember radius is half of a diameter, well then you double the radius. 2 times r would be d. 2 radii would be 1 diameter. You double the radius, you multiply it by pi. Yes?
Are we first multiplying so this one could be?
Well, we're not there. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Okay. So this is where period 4 kind of got lost, as I explained where this pi thing came from, and you guys heard it yesterday. It turns out that if you take any circle and you divide its circumference by its diameter every single time, and if you'd like to experiment, you can. If you do this to any circle, you get this special number, 3.14. And it doesn't stop, and it goes on forever, and it never repeats itself. For the ancient humans, this really looked like magic. Why do you always get this number, right? The circles are different, right? You got a big one, you got a small one, but you always get 3.14. As modern humans, we're okay with this concept, but ancient humans were not. They thought there was some magic involved. So it held a special place for them as well, too. For us, we eat pi on March the 14th. But that is the symbol for pi, and I told you it is the Greek, it's lowercase Greek letter P. If your name is Peter, this is the first letter of your name right there. But it's a Greek letter. We believe that it was named, they picked this to stand for is because it stands for perimeter of a circle, we think. All right, so the pi we're going to use for this year and also next year in the 8th grade. It's not until we get to high school that we start using on calculators that you will be using, there is literally a pi key. And you'll press the pi key, and all it does on the calculator is simply give you a longer version of pi. It still rounds, by the way. It's not literally pi. It's an approximation of pi.
Doesn't pi go on forever?
It goes on forever, and that's why your calculator does some rounding. It just doesn't round to 2 digits. It goes to, I don't know how many digits, but it's a lot. Okay. Yeah, there's a pi button on that. On all your calculators, if you have the calculator that I asked you to buy for this class, there's a pi button on it.
Close to
I
10
got to
digits.
11.
It literally looks like pi. That thing right
You
there.
don't count the point. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So-
End the class, if you'd like, I'll show it to you on your calculator. Do not, well, I don't want to say do not use it. I'm just going to say if you use that button on your calculator, it's going to not use 3.14. It's going to use it to about 7, 8, maybe 10 decimal places. So you will get an answer that is more accurate, closer to the real value,
Oh, you'll know.
but it's still. So when I call out the answer, they're using 3.14 in the book, and you're using 10 digits of pi, your answers will be slightly different than the book answers.
What if
9 decimal places.
Okay.
What if you want to multiply to the word? Like if you want to go like 3.141 by 9.
It looks like
Agree, but I'm just saying that when I call out answers in the book, typically this is what happens, or I give you a worksheet and it has answers on it. People are like, well, I didn't get that. Yeah, because you used the pi key on your calculator rather than 3.14.
3 is
Right. Quick one just to show you. This is just a quick review. If I were to calculate the circumference of this circle, is this a radius or diameter? I would always recommend that you use the formula that has the d in it. It's the easier one to use. It's just pi times the diameter. Well, the diameter here is 10. I'm going to use 3.14. Now I change it from an equal sign to an approximation symbol because I rounded. First step, I do some rounding. Usually you round at the very end, but we're going to round the first step. So when I write the formula c equals pi d, I'm not going to use equal. I'm going to use approximation because I changed the pi symbol to 3.14. And I just multiply it by 10. All right, that's a pretty easy one. Oh, by the way, on a test, I can give you an easy one like this. And the kids that know what they're doing, thank me for that. And the kids that don't know what they're doing, it doesn't matter because they don't know what they're doing. So I can make my test an easy test with nice friendly numbers and find out immediately whether or not you know what you're doing. Right? I don't have to make the diameter 6.236, right? To know if you know how to calculate a circumference. I can put a nice friendly number like, why is 10 a friendly number?
Because it's easy.
Or
Move a decimal.
you move the decimal place once, right? So for the kids that are paying attention, that ends up being an easily done thing and they're done quickly and they know for sure they got the right answer. For the kid that doesn't even know what a diameter is or the formula, doesn't matter that I give them a friendly number. All right, so we do that. I'm all about moving a decimal place once, so 31.4 inches. Make sure we always put units when we're doing perimeters. Or I should say, make sure you always put units. The other version would be if they give you the radius. Well, I can change a radius to a diameter really quick. What's the diameter?
8.
It's 8. So for those of you that like using c equals pi d, I'm one of them. I'm just going to multiply pi times 8 and be done. If you want to use the formula that talks about the radius, it's 2 times pi times r. I'll show it to you, right? Remember, pi is about 3.14. So 2 times pi times the radius. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 3.14, right, is that number right there.
It's a long step.
For me, I would have done it using the c equals pi d. I'm not saying you got to do this twice. But for me, I would have already just said it's got a diameter of 8 and multiply 8 times 3.14. Notice the same calculation. You still get the same answer. Still get the same answer. Okay, that's your quick review. Any questions? On to the new stuff. All right, there's a big but here, and the big but here is this. What would happen, and it will happen tonight for homework. Some of you already were trying to do the wrong homework last night. You're like, what? It gives me the circumference. It doesn't give me the radius. So all we're going to do now is the same formulas, but instead of giving the diameter or the radius, they're going to tell you the circumference, and you're going to calculate the diameter or the radius. Okay? The formula is still the same, but this time they're going to not give you the radius or the diameter. They're going to give you the circumference. Okay? The question says, what is the
Diameter.
So guess which formula I'm going to use? The formula. Which one am I going to use? Which formula?
C equals pi.
C equals pi times d. Because that's the one that has the diameter in the formula. Okay? I'm going to plug in what do I know? What do I know in this problem here, Parker? Is that the C, the pi, or the d? That's the C. So Parker says, let's let C be the value 20. Everybody see what I did?
Yep.
I changed it to approximation because I changed pi to 3.14. Now we're going to use our algebra skills. Where's the variable, left or right?
It's on the left. I mean right.
It's on the right. What's attached to it?
3.14.
How is the 3.14 attached to D?
Multiplication.
How do we get rid of multiplication? So what are we going to divide both sides by?
3.14.
All right, you tell me friendly or unfriendly math there. Well, I'm not spending time doing decimal long division with you, but that's the unfriendly math you got to do today. Okay? Do we all agree that we can get to an answer of 20 divided by 3.14?
Yes.
All right. 20 divided by 3 is about, it's about 6 something, right? Or maybe 5 something because it's a decimal number. You agree that we're going to get a number somewhere between 5 and 7, yes? Okay, so we're not going to spend time talking about the decimal long division. I'm just going to say we're going to get to this step and we're all going to agree that, yeah, we could do the work to get to the answer, yes? Okay. We would spend 5 minutes in this class getting to this answer. So I didn't give you that many tonight for homework, but yeah, you're going to have to do that. Yes? Let's not use our calculator. Let's get practice. I didn't give you that many tonight for homework. All right, let's do one together, at least up to the division step, and then we'll ask somebody with a calculator to give us the answer real quick. But let's all agree. Put calculators down for right now. Let's set the problem up. Who can read that for me? Read. This is box 2. All right, so what is it asking us for? Radius or diameter? Diameter. So what formula are we going to use? C equals pi. Write that down first. Always write the formula first. That way you can't make a silly mistake. C equals pi d. What do we know here? C, pi, or d? And we also know, we know C and pi. So on the next line down, instead of writing the C, I'm going to write 250. Instead of pi, I'm going to write, and instead of equal, I'm going to put approximate. Okay, we okay? Where's the variable, left or right side?
Yes.
What's attached to it?
3.14.
How is 3.14 attached to D? How do we get rid of multiplication?
Division.
Write that down. Do we all understand what we would need to do at this step to get to an answer? And don't tell me grab your calculator. Do you all understand by hand what you would need to do?
Yes.
What are we dividing?
250 by 3.1.
Okay, somebody with a calculator tell us the answer.
I got it.
Oh, it's a race.
What is it? Okay, let's see if that makes sense. 250 divided by 3 is...
I got 79. 79.6.
I'm saying that 80-ish would be the right answer, right? Not 700.
79.617.
Okay. So let's round it to the nearest what?
10.
All right, so round it to the nearest tenth, that will give us what?
80. Yeah, 80.
69.
Actually, no,
Whoa,
79.8.
79.8?
79.7.
79.7, what are the units?
Centimeters.
Okay. Okay? Yes? Is anyone lost in what we did?
Nope.
All right. The only challenging part, if I ask you to do it by hand, is 250 divided by 3.14, which I will ask you on the test. All right. Absolutely. Abby. Okay, no one's lost? What's the other way I could ask this same question?
With the radius.
Yeah,
With a radius. Instead of calculate the diameter, calculate the radius. I'll give you 2 different ways of doing it.
you get the diameter.
You get to the answer. This is the diameter. How do you turn that into a radius?
5 by 2.
Okay, so you could use this formula. Or, if you don't like this method, that's how I would do it, by the way. If you don't like this method, well, same problem. Use the 2 pi r formula, because it is solving for radius. Okay, so I'll just show you this real quick. So there's our setup. What's 2 times 3.14?
Basically.
You could do that in your head. 2 times 3.14? 6.28. Then what are we going to do to both sides? Divide by When there's no 3.14, there's a 6.28. Turns out when you do that, you get to the answer. Oh, by the way, that would be the same answer as if we took the diameter, which was, what was it, 70?
79.6.
And you divide that by 2, you get 39.8.
Or
Okay.
you could just take the.
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 different ways of doing the same thing. All right, questions. By the way, this is the easier part of the homework. We haven't even got to the hard part. Okay. This is not hard. The calculation, absolutely by hand, is hard. But I'm saying the logic, what you need to do is not that big of a deal. Anyone lost? All right. You have 2 of them. Box 4. Get to, if you got a calculator, you can use your calculator to get to the division. If you don't, get to the division step and stop. If you have the calculator, go ahead and get to an answer. Like I said, I don't want to spend 10 minutes doing long division here. I want to make sure that everybody understands the process. Everybody know what they're doing? Box 4, box 4. We get to chapter 10 is the next geometry section, so that'll be somewhere around spring break-ish. We will do the entire chapter with a calculator.
Oh, thank God. I sadly left mine at home.
Get to the division step and you can stop.
Mine's in my back.
Okay,
Mine's in
no
my
problems.
backpack. But it's
Everybody seems to be making progress. There's 2 problems there. You need to write some numbers down so you can look at them. Otherwise, I don't know if you set it up correctly. So when I show you the steps, make sure you're writing something on your paper like Parker is. You've got the whole thing written perfectly.
You want us to round?
Yeah, let's round in there 10.
Oh, wait.
If you've got one of these high school calculators, you can make the calculator round for you.
I legitimately think that calculator probably weighs like.
See where it says float? Float means don't round. This means round to how many decimal places? Let's round to 1 decimal place. So now every time you do a calculation, like 3.2555.
that calculator is cheap.
Yes, it is. 3.2555.
It's rubbing in my
Plus
face.
6.1743. When I hit enter, it's going to round it to 1 decimal place.
Oh
So,
my God.
put it back to float.
Oh my God.
All right, let's go over the first one.
Ben, Ben, you want to
The
trade?
first one, we start with the formula C equals pi d. Listen, please. Check your work. It tells us the circumference is 40. So C is 40. We'll change equal to approximation and pi to 3.14. So it looks like we're dividing 40 by 3.14. 3 goes into 40, I don't know, about 13 times-ish. So if you got something close to 13, you got the right answer.
12.7.
Okay? And that is the answer. All right.
I got 12.73.
Which would round to 12.7. All right, second one, though, it's asking us to calculate the radius. Now, you could use the pi d formula and then divide by 2 your final answer, or you could use the 2 pi r. I'll use 2 pi r. I replaced pi with 3.14, change equal to approximation, and the circumference is 12.56. So this one is definitely ugly by hand because, you know, you're going to do some weird decimal long division. 2 times 3.14 is 6.28. Divide everything by 6.28. 6 goes into 12 about twice. So I better get an answer about 2.
It's 4. It's 4 if you do it.
It's
well,
4.
It's 4 if you do it the diameter way. It's
Right, but then you got to divide it by 2.
yeah.
You're scaring me there for a second when you said the answer is 4. Right? The answer is clearly somewhere around 2.
Exactly.
Right. It's not exactly, but it's approximately.
Yeah.
2.
Right.
If you got 4, you didn't calculate the radius, you calculated the diameter. I think so.
I wish you could be able to plug that into like a calculator.
You can. If you have one of those high school calculators, you can literally write a program for it very easily to do this all for you magically, but you got to write the program.
What's the program?
I want to learn how to write that.
Some kids get very interested and they learn how to program, and then you can make.
They put like Donkey
They put
Kong.
no. I mean, they do the programming themselves. So a lot of kids that are really interested, I teach them how to like program Snake into their thing. If you're interested, I can absolutely teach you. All right, next idea. All right, think about this. All right, this is the hard one, the challenging one, so make sure you're paying attention. Clearly that is a
Triangle.
hexagon. All right, here is the basic idea. Are you paying attention?
Yes.
I'm going to take a known shape, hexagon, and another known shape, and squish them together.
It's a
Okay.
special thing.
So when you squish them together, you get another shape.
You get a numb head.
This will happen, listen please, two different ways. Hush, please. Stop, please. This will happen two different ways. There are two different ways to combine a triangle and a hexagon. There's one way, you just put them together. The second way is if I take this triangle, rotate it 180 degrees, this would be a hexagon plus a triangle. Do you agree? The second way would be if I took the hexagon and I rotate the triangle, and then I mash this in and erase something. I would get, if you could imagine this, push down to here and then erase the triangle, you get something that looks like this.
It's a Pac-Man.
It does look like a Pac-Man. So if, hold on a second. So if this is hexagon plus triangle, what's Pac-Man?
Hexagon minus triangle.
Get it? This concept is something called composite shapes. It's a new shape. I don't have a name for that shape. But I do know that it's made up of a hexagon and subtracting a triangle. Write this down, please. Box 5. This is called composite shape. It's a shape constructed of two or more. You're not going to see one today made up of more than like 3 shapes. And it probably should say it's a new shape, but no, it doesn't say that. It's a shape constructed from 2 or more shapes. Malachi, right? Box 5, composite shape. It's a shape constructed from 2 or more shapes. And you can kind of see in the next box some examples of composite
Made
shapes.
us an actual Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's not. It was a fortune cookie.
No, there's
Pac-Man
nothing.
falls.
Fortune cookies are more.
Fortune cookies.
They take a disc and they fold it on itself. That's where
Fortune
they
cookies
and
tastes
then
like
they
dried
fold it a third
cardboard.
time. You take a disc, fold
Yeah, I
it in
know, I
half,
see that.
and then they fold it like that.
Fortune cookies.
All right,
tastes like cardboard.
now you got to really pay attention. It gets complicated. Step number 1 to do any calculation with a composite shape is to first figure out what you're dealing with. Some people can do this very quickly, intuitively. Other people stare at it for a while and don't see what's going on. The first one looks like a grain silo if you're a farmer, right? Well, what's the shape?
It's a rectangle and a half. It's a rectangle and a half.
I'm going to say it's half of what?
It's a square and a circle.
Okay, so some people, it's not a square and a circle. Right? Some people can see this almost immediately. Other people need to be led down the path of what's going on here. So the people that can't see it, well, let me help you there. You see it now? It's a rectangle and a half circle added together. Okay? No, I said some people get it immediately. Other people can look at it for a while and still not see what's going on. This is the hardest one. What's this one?
A beauty blender. Circle plus square.
It is not a circle plus square.
A circle plus a triangle?
It looks like that, but it's not that either.
It's a beauty blender.
Let me show you. Like I said, this is the hardest one.
Oh, no, I know.
What do you got?
It's a square plus a 3/4 circle.
Some people can get this, other people can't. Very good.
What?
He said it's 3/4 of a circle plus a square.
Oh, I see
You
it.
see it now?
No.
Let's go. Be smart.
It's 3/4 of a circle, so it's Pac-Man plus a square, right?
I got this.
All right, what's this one?
Oh, it's 3/4 circle minus square.
Square. No, it's a full circle.
Well, it's not minus the full square, though.
It's full circle minus a triangle.
Yeah, it's not that either, because the problem is a circle is curved. So if I were to, I mean, I think you can all see the triangle right there. The problem is that the circle would curve. You're missing this piece.
A pie piece.
So I don't want to make this too complicated, but this is just, it's just 3/4 of a square. Square. 3/4 of a circle. That's it. What's the last one?
It's one rectangle.
No, plus is.
Does look like a pill.
Wait, it's a rectangle with two half circles.
Yeah,
Two
Say it again, Abby.
A circle with two half circles.
That's what everyone else is saying. I'm going to say it's something better. Malachi?
A circle plus a,
It's just a circle plus a rectangle.
because you could.
Right? Because 2 half circles would add to,
One circle.
so it's a rectangle plus a circle. Now, oh, by the way, this is the easy part of the hard part. We're going to spend the next 15 minutes on 2 problems. Literally. I did not give you 10 of these tonight for homework. Okay? What they're going to ask you to do tonight for homework is to calculate the perimeter of these shapes. They're only going to give you a little bit of information. Now, here's where you got to really pay attention.
You gave us 8 problems in total.
Right, but not 8 of these.
There's only 3.
There's only 3 of these. Now, here's where you got to turn your brain on, Jameson. Pay attention. Step number 1 to calculate the perimeter of these shapes is first identify what's going on. We just did it for all 4 shapes here. Right? It's a rectangle plus a circle. It's 3/4 of a circle. It's a 3/4 of a circle plus a square. It's a rectangle plus half a circle. That's just the starting point. Okay? So what about all this is the last game, and it is challenging, is here's 2 different problems. It's going to take us 15 minutes. We're going to calculate the perimeter of this grain silo and the perimeter of this smaller grain silo. Okay? Notice, before when we asked to calculate the perimeter of a hexagon, it gave us all 6 sides. It was simple. We just added up the 6 numbers. There's not enough numbers here. We're missing things. Step number 2, after you figure out what it is, what you're going to need to calculate is you got to figure out the missing sides. Hands down for a second. So step number 1, though, is to figure out what's the shapes. So who's got the shapes? We'll do the left one first. What's the shapes?
Rectangle plus half circle.
Do we all agree that it's a rectangle plus half a circle?
That's it.
So that's the calculation I need to do. Rectangle plus half a circle. Okay, do we have enough information to calculate the perimeter of the rectangle?
No. Oh, yes.
No, we need a half circle.
I'm missing the number over here.
Yeah. 15.
It's 15
Okay.
because the sides are equal.
35.
If I'm doing the perimeter, do I need this measurement right here?
No.
Well, perimeter is the outside, not the inside. So do I need that measurement?
No.
Okay, so just doing the rectangle, right?
35.
That's 15. Therefore, what's the perimeter of just the rectangle?
35.
35, right? Or I could just simply say it's 15 plus 15 plus 5, right? What I need now is I need that part.
Very good.
What? So hard.
You agree?
Yeah, so,
Remember, that's half a circle. So what are we going to do?
We need to figure out the diameter. 2.5.
It's
In general terms, what do we need to do in order to figure out half the circle?
5. Right?
So what do we need first then?
The whole circle.
We need the whole circle and then divide it by 2. Is everybody with me on that?
Is it?
If we knew the entire circumference, we could just take that and divide by 2. That would give us half the circle. So we need, our problem here is we got to find the whole circle. So you tell me, in order to calculate circumference of a circle, what do we need?
Wait, that's the diameter.
We need a radius or diameter, and somebody just figured out, guess what that measurement is right there? Can everyone see that's the diameter?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to take C equals pi d. You just told me that the diameter is 5, and I know that pi is 3.14. Calculator person.
Time to do a quick
It's get clear and try it again.
math. 15.7.
15.7, okay? Now, is that the number we want?
No.
That's the whole circle. What do we need?
Half of it, so 7.85.
So what's the answer, calculator?
7.85.
Okay. So we're going to take 15.7 divided by 2. Ask questions now. And we get what?
7.85.
So from here all the way around here is 7. I'm going to round to 7.9. Okay? What are we going to do with that number right there? Add it to this down here. Remember, this was 15 plus 5 plus 5. We know it's now 7.9 around the bend. Therefore, the final answer is
42.85.
that took us 8 minutes to get to the answer. Now, granted, some of you were able to figure this out a little bit quicker. I'm just going to tell you the 3 problems are going to take you some time.
That was 8 minutes.
Right, and we got 8 minutes left to do the last one. All right, here we go. The last one. Let me clear all that. That was a big wow. That's a lot of work for one problem. The last one. What's the shape?
Square plus half circle.
I don't know if it's a square or not.
Well, it kind of looks like one.
It looks more like a rectangle to me.
But it only gives us one, so we have to.
Notice this one gave us 2. This one only gives us 1. Now it could be a square, it could be a circle. It's one of the 2. But I do know this. Are you paying attention? If this side is 10, so what I need to know is these 2 sides, which aren't even listed. In fact, the only thing that's listed here is the what? Now here's where you got to stop. There's a whole bunch of people not. Ace already knows the answer. Put your hand down, Ace. Okay. Are you paying attention? This is the. Clearly not. This is the one that will rattle your boots. What is here in red? What is it telling me?
Radius.
So what's the diameter?
8 centimeters.
So that means that's 8. Therefore,
That's 8.
so is it a square or rectangle?
Rectangle.
It ends up being a rectangle.
So 32.
So this one is once again, we thought it might be a square, but we just figured it out that it was a rectangle. All right. From that stage right there, we can kind of march through this pretty quickly, but I'm just going to warn you tonight for homework. You're going to have to do a little bit of thinking. Now, I guided you through that problem. We're not done yet, but I guided you through that. Hopefully, you kind of pick up the techniques there. All right. So if this side is 10,
That side's 10.
that side's 10,
28.
this side is,
8.
and this side is.
8.
All right. So there we go.
So it's 28.
So what's the perimeter of the rectangle?
28.
So 10 plus 10 plus 8.
And then that's 4 centimeters.
Now we have to calculate that right there.
32.
You want to use diameter or you want to use 2 pi r?
Diameter.
All right, I heard 2 pi r. Diameter is what I would choose, but since they gave us the radius, a lot of people would say let's do 2 pi r. So if you want to use pi d, what's the diameter here?
8.
It's 8. So I plug 8 in for d. Pi is 3.14. Calculators.
Calculator. Use calculator.
25.12.
25.12.
Go. Come on, Valentine.
I already know. Yeah.
25.12, so let's just call it 25.1.
Alright.
Wait a minute. Is that the whole circle or is that half the circle?
Half.
So therefore, what's half of the circle?
50.2 added to 28.
No.
Yeah, I know. It's
You just doubled it.
5.6. Oh.
Remember, circumference would be the whole circle. So it would be what?
12.56.
Okay. So let's just call it 12.6. Down there.
I did it. 40.6. 40.6. No, it's 12.5.
What is it?
12.5. 40.6. No.
We're going to run it. He's already getting to the answer now. Say, I need to make sure that everyone is with us. We got a couple of anxious people that are already telling us the answers. So we found out that it is a rectangle. How do we figure that out? It's because we were given a radius. The radius is half of the diameter. Stop. Therefore, we saw that the 2 sides of the square rectangle are 8. Therefore, it's not a square, it's a rectangle. So 10 plus 8 plus 10 is 28. And then we found out the whole circle circumference, 25.1. We divided by that by 2 and got 12 point. It rounds 12.6. We add that, we got 40.6. That only took us 5 minutes. Now, I'm going to warn you. The kids that are quick at this, listen please. The kids that are quick at this will do this pretty quickly. It doesn't matter how quickly you do it. It matters to get to the right answer. The kid that can get to the answer 40.6 and it takes them 10 minutes, is just as good as a kid that can get it in 3 minutes, right? Make sure the steps are as follows. You look at the shape and you determine what's the composite shape. You can all see that it's a square or rectangle, but you know the easy mistake is you're thinking circle. It's not a circle, it's only half a circle. Tonight for homework, they gave you 3 of these. It's a mixture of things either put together or things being subtracted, that sort of thing.
Okay,
Any questions on anything we did?
yeah, we should take some.
Yes.
How do you find the diameter of a triangle?
There is no diameter of a
How
triangle.
do you? Okay, how would you do in a triangle?
Well, I want to give you guys some time to look at it. So here's what I want you to do. We still have 4 minutes left. Quiet, please. Open up your books. Look at the last 3 problems, which were right here. Look at your composite shapes. If you can't figure out right now what it is, hey, it's a rectangle plus a circle. It's 3/4 of a circle. If you can't figure that out, I'm walking around. Ask me and I'll give you some help. Grab your book, get it open. Look at the last ones. Make sure you can look at the shape. What is it? What is 24?
What the heck?
It's half a circle. 25 is how much of a circle? 3/4 of a quarter of a circle. I do.
I do. No, call on me. I want to get it.
What?
I want to get
You
it. I
said
said
cologne.
cologne. Oh, I said yours.
I'm not coming to work if I have cologne. You understand the shape?
I think it is.
You understand shapes?
Well, we know what progress is gonna be.
How about
Coronavirus.
How bad is that?
this is a
We
half.
need to have a sign for my project. You can be coronavirus. How bad is it?
Alright, so shape.
That's not killing more.
That's it. That's a rectangle.
130.
Well, radius is 4. What's the diameter?
Dude, it's gonna be like 40.
No, the radius is 4. What's the diameter of just the circle? There's the bottom.
No idea. I should remember my tape.
It's half a circle. What did they just give you? What did they got on the circle? Okay, so you can figure out the circumference.
I said it and now I feel the
I said it. And when I got up there, I forgot it.
not like that. I remember after I said it, I just want to be the first I know like
You got your shapes now? You got your shapes? Perfect.
Hey, I'm smart. You're not pulling it out.
I have just so much mess.
All right. A little birdie told me that when you guys go to lunch?
Something.
When do you go to lunch? What time?
Right after fourth period.
What's the time?
25.
To what?
11:25 to 11:55.
All right. A little birdie told me that in your 5th period class, you might want to bring your jackets.
Oh yeah, because there's that.
I'm dead.
All right. E-learners, do you have any questions?
Yes, 2 questions.
All right.
So,
Class, time out. I can't hear the e-learner.
So
What's
when
up?
it comes to the first problem that we did that took 8 minutes, do you multiply the pi against the number and then you divide it?
Could you talk a little bit closer to your microphone? I can't hear you.
Do you divide the number after you multiply, or do you multiply and then do you divide it and then multiply it?
Let's hold off 1 second, let everybody clear out of the classroom, and then I'll let you ask the question.
Okay.
Everybody's so loud. Wait, close down, close down. Oh wait, read. Oh wait, Elijah. How does learning about art help us get a career?
Some people want to be like graphic designers.
I know that. What if you just want to be like a business?
So it really kind of depends. Like if you're building a new building and they start talking about design styles and what, then you would have the background knowledge of understanding what they're talking about.
What about music?
Music, the same thing. Like let's just say that you want to, have music playing in your business or something like that. You got to have the knowledge of, no, I don't want, dirty lyrics played in my business because it's going to turn off some people, but you need to have some knowledge of that. It's good background knowledge, and it's common as we as a civilization. Hey, could you guys wait outside for a second?
What about English?
Well, let's just say you need to be able to speak good English no matter what
Well, I
job.
know, but we're learning how to analyze a poem.
Right. So
And we're memorizing poems.
the other thing is that we teach you all this stuff so that you get to learn about things you may or may not want to pursue in your life. All right, I can hear you now. What's your question?
Okay, so how did you get the 8 on the second question?
Second question, let's go back. So you're talking about the 8. Hey, wait outside for just a second. So do you see the rectangle?
Yeah. Wait, no.
So I want you to look at the half circle right above it. Do you see that
Okay.
4 is the radius?
Yes.
So then what would be the diameter of a circle with a radius of 4?
8. Oh, okay.
Ah, yeah, that's it right there.
Okay, thank you.
That was the tricky one, and that one's definitely tricky.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, makes sense?
Yep. Bye.
All right, well, I'll catch you tomorrow.